Hey there everyone, Rajat here. So I'm recording this from my office because I am doing night shifts these days. So today I want to talk about the future of native development. So Stephen Mischuk, who is a Sifu when it comes to mobile development and web development in general, and he has years of experience, and I am following him on YouTube, has released a video about the future of native development, and quite a number of points resonated with me. So in today's video I am going to give you my take on what I exactly think about learning native development or doing native development in 2019. So the thing is, if you go on any blog or online forum, you will time and again hear people saying or touting that native development or mobile applications built using native development are far superior and faster than the cross-platform applications built using cross-platform solutions like Cordova or React Native or Flutter. So I want to bust this myth. First of all, the thing is, when they talk about complexity, not all applications are going to be that complex. Oops, the light got turned off. So first of all, I don't really know if you have heard of this one term YAGNI, which is you ain't gonna need it. So not all applications are going to be complex from the get-go, or they are uh, going to get complex even after years of active development. So if they tout about performance degradation, I do not really think that you can get to see that sort of a degradation where your applications built using cross-platform technologies are going to be that slower where a user cannot use them. So the performance enhancements you are going to get by developing a native applications is going to be incremental. So because Galaxy recently launched a mobile phone which is having 12 GB of RAM. So how slow application can you write, right? So your application is not going to consume those 12 GB of RAM, right? So that incremental speed enhancement you can get by writing native applications can be overshadowed by the amount of effort and the amount of resources you have to throw at the native development. So you have to write two applications, which means that you need to have twice the resources and twice the time in order to develop these two similar looking and similar working applications. And I do not really think that most of these businesses require two individual applications just to get those incremental updates. So Stephen was very right that the mobile devices have gotten very fast, and the comparison between the speed of a native application or a cross-platform applications are very competitive. So you can say that your cross-platform application can work at par with the native application if it is not that complex or it is not doing some extraterrestrial computation on the device itself, because most of these applications are going to be CRUD applications where they are getting some data from a web service and all the heavy lifting is being done by a web service. So these mobile applications are just the UI part, right? So if you build them using native or you build them using the cross-platform SDK, the performances are going to be pretty similar. Then I did some more research and I stumbled upon these arguments or counterpoints that sooner or later you will hit a point where you would not be able to do the complex working with these cross-platform SDKs, which means that in case you wanted to implement a custom animation or something like that, you will spend more time in jumping through the hula hoops of this cross-platform SDKs instead of getting the real work done. Now, here is my unpopular opinion. So if such a time arrives, you will be having enough resources to figure things out, or even if it requires a rewrite of the application, you will have enough resources at your disposal, because if your application is already a hit, and it is a hit to a point where you are creating some out of the box features, which means that the application is pretty famous, then in turn it means that you do have some financial resources at your disposal which you can use to rewrite the application in native. But I do not really think that such a time will arrive, because eventually these cross-platform SDKs will also catch up, and you will be able to implement most of the custom stuff using those SDKs. So you do not really have to worry about whether you will be able to do something in the futures, because as I have already stated that it's always about Yagni, you ain't gonna need it. So stop perspiring about whether you would be able to do something in the future and worry about present, because it's always about taking your product to the market as fast as possible, so that you can get feedback from your users, and based on that feedback you can reiterate and improve your solution. And that can only happen if you do not spend quite a lot of time into building two applications just to get that incremental speed up in performance. So you should think about getting to the market fast. And I am not saying that in the efforts of getting to the market faster, you just do not pay any sort of attention to the performance is necessary. And let me tell you this, that I have written a very heavy and very large SaaS application using React Native. If you have checked out my application Pollen Chat, it's a complete SaaS product. So it has got everything a modern web or mobile application requires. It has got deep linking, it has got some database stuff, it has got some lambdas, it has got some advanced chat messaging stuff. So everything is in that application, but still it performs quite well. And I rewrote the application ditching my native Android application, and I rewrote the entire stuff in React Native, and there was no performance degradation when it came to the performance or the lucidness of the UI. And I was pretty happy that I was able to complete the application within a very small time frame. So you should not worry about writing two applications. I think that you should care about making your application seamless and more user friendly, and that user friendliness can be achieved via native platform or a cross development SDK platform. Additionally, native development is arduous. It requires quite a lot of efforts on developers' parts, and the skills are non-transferable. So you cannot take your Android development skill and plug those into iOS development, because the technological stacks are vastly different from each other. So you have to rerun the entire development strategies for the other platform. So you need to either learn both of those platforms on your own, or you need to get a team which is proficient enough in these two platforms. So now I think you can see that it is going to take some time, or it is going to take some financial resources to gather all of those skills for Android and iOS development. But using a cross-platform solution, you can shortcut all of that BS, and you can only think about the features or the coolest things you are going to build into your application, and how your users can enhance their lives using those features. So you cannot just let go of this profit by employing cross-platform just for the sake of some incremental performance upgrade, right? So it is not always about the speed. Let me be very frank with you, these cross platform SDKs are going to catch up pretty soon, so there is not going to be much of a difference when it comes to the speed or the difference in the speed. Obviously cross-platform development SDKs can trade off the native look and feel for performance, and they can do several things like that, but I think those are not pretty big issues because you can always tailor your UI to look good. There are several strategies and there are designers out there who are pretty proficient into giving anything a pretty look. So if you argue that the UIs offered by these cross-platform SDKs are not very similar to the native ones, you can always make them work, and native development is not worth the effort just to get the similar look and feel as the underlying platform. It is not always the case. In some cases it might be necessary or it might be a key feature of your application, but most of the time you can get away with providing a non-standard UI and your users will not even notice that. So you should not perspire about native look and feel as well. Obviously your application should not look entirely different from the design ethos of the underlying platform, and the cross-platform SDKs are also making sure that the native look and feel, I mean the UI's look and feel resembles the underlying platform. So those were my opinions. So I think that cross-platform development is going to be huge as suggested by Stephen in his video, and it is going to be a substantial thing. So you can dive into React Native, you can look into Flutter, or you can look into this framework known as Capacitor. So there are a plethora of choices you can choose from, but please do not sweat about getting into native development just because it is faster. It is not that faster. So that was everything I wanted to say, or I wanted to iterate over, because I have covered this topic quite a lot on my channel, so you can go and check these video out in case you want to. So let me know what you think about this whole native versus hybrid or cross-platform scenario, because as per my opinion and as per the opinions of industry heavyweights, I think that cross-platform development is the way to go, because native is just very resource and time and money intensive, and there is not much to be gained by delving into native development. So take care, bye bye, and I'll see you around.